beautifuls, this is Aromie here and welcome back to Seduce Me, the visual novel game. Last episode, Eric is fighting Malix and I read quite a long dialogue. Still am. And my throat is still hurting, but oh well, let's get right to it. Listen carefully and let the last two words linger in my mind. Don't look. Why? What was being hidden from me? I wanted to know, but something told me to obey Damien's command. I could hear everything, however. I listened as Malix stood up with a pained grunt before being being pushed against the wall with another shout. After that came sounds of flesh ripping and blood squirting, followed quickly by Malix's screams. Ugh, that must sound really terrible. Maybe it was better that I wasn't able to see.
Eric, enough!
Almost instantly after James' command, the sound stopped. The air grew silent as a pair of footsteps slowly made their way to where we were.
I just had to be sure he was dead. No use in letting him have a chance to revive.
You're getting sloppy, Eric. You've lost your glamour spell.
Glamour spell? What did he mean? Why did Eric sound so different? Why was this being hidden from me?
It's a spell that makes us look human.
I froze. Look human. They didn't look like humans after all. What did they look like?
Like demons.
Oh, thanks, Damien. As if Matthew knew what Damien was talking about, Matthew spoke up, followed by the sound of a cork popping out of a bottle.
Well, not for much longer. Here.
There we are. Thank you, Matthew.
I could hear the small clinking of glass being passed before hearing Eric guzzle down a liquid of some sort. The feel of the air around me gently began to warm back up, insinuating that everything had been returned to normal. Finally, Damien moved his hand from my eyes, allowing me to see around me once again. The devils, including Iris, had fled. On top of what I assumed to be Malix's body was dirty sheet that was quickly turning red from blood. I couldn't tell if it was even his body. It seemed lumped together like a pile of parts. Ew, that's disgusting. The boys, however, had gathered around me, all of them, including Eric, looking like nothing had happened. What just... I tried to speak, but everything zipped around in my head at the whole event, that I felt like speaking was impossible.
Let's just get you home, miss. There's nothing more to see here.
Yeah, let's go home. I could only nod. What had happened boggled my mind to the point of disbelief. I was second-guessing everything, lost in a sea of what, and how, and when. As we walked out of the warehouse, I looked to Eric for some form of sign that I wasn't dreaming. Eric smiled softly at me before looking ahead, trying to look like nothing had happened. I looked to Eric, feeling my heart flutter in my chest. I didn't want him to leave, but would he ask to stay? I hoped that he would say no and ask me to stay longer. As if he knew what I wanted, Eric moved and stepped to me, gently moving a strand of hair from my face to behind my ear. He stared into my eyes and spoke, gently stroking my cheek.
Princess, you've been such a wonderful help to us already. But I'm afraid that I must ask more of you. I've grown fond of being here and of serving you. Would you allow us to stay?
Why, of course, Eric. I mean, if you guys make me breakfast every day and keep the house clean, it's pretty nice of you. My heart skipped while a large red blush ran across my cheeks. The boy stared at Eric wide-eyed, but didn't dare to speak out. Eric stepped back to give me space, returning to where he was. I moved my gaze across each boy, trying to make a decision. If they left in the morning... Oh wait, I can skip this part. Let them stay. I watched a very happy smile grow onto Eric's lips. He shared my excitement, knowing that we would be together longer. Who knew how long we would stay together? All I cared about was that I would be with him. The others quickly left to finally rest, leaving me and Eric alone at last. My heart fluttered a bit as Eric walked closer to me, gently wrapping his arms around my waist. I placed my hand onto his shoulder, leaning close.
Yet again, you spoil me. I'm very unworthy of you, princess.
You're pretty worthy. Don't say you're unworthy. Hush, Eric. I wanted you to stay. I stared up into his eyes, getting lost in them. I didn't know if it was the tiredness or my growing attachment to him, but I felt myself leaning to Eric's body. It invited me to stay a while, making me forget that my bed was also calling for me.
Listen, about what happened at the warehouse.
No, it's fine. You did what you had to do. I understand. I had accepted everything while in Eric's warmth. He was real, and he was someone I didn't want to be without, even if that meant nodding against my curiosity. Besides, I was too tired to explore that memory further. Eric nodded before kissing my forehead sweetly.
Come, let's get you to bed.
I hate to go to bed alone. I nodded before Eric gently lifted me up into his arms like a bride and carried me to my room. I didn't want to leave his arms, leaning my head against Eric's chest, but eventually I was slowly lowered to my bed and covered with the bed covers. I was still in my school clothes, but I was too tired to strip her care. That will always get me, strip her care. I looked at Eric, fighting a yawn from escaping me as he gently ran a hand over my hair.
Have a good night, princess. I'll prepare breakfast for you in the morning.
Okie dokie. I nodded with a tired smile before watching him slowly stand and leave my room, closing the door. A wave of happiness washed over me as I laid in bed. I made a good choice. Sure, it would be hard, but I could tell that I would be able to manage it. Help around the house and being with a man whom I was slowly starting to fall for would be worth it. But this is for Diana, it'd be cray cray. We're gonna tell him straight up, it's Diana. Oh hell no, boo boo. I'm standing up to her ass. I felt my heart flutter, especially when my eyes landed on Eric. He kept close to me, glaring daggers into Diana. I could feel that he was completely adamant in his choice to stay. I don't know what, but I was incredibly happy to know he wanted to stay. Eric walked over to me and gently caressed my cheek, looking at me with concern.
She won't harm you, princess. I promise.
I hope so. We all know she does. I nodded, feeling that he was telling the truth, or at least a hopeful and comforting thought. Eric gently took my hand in his and kissed my knuckles, making me blush and forget what I was thinking about. The sound of collected chuckles and playful snickers whispered through the air, making me blush even more, but as Eric cleared his throat, the laughter stopped. I liked to see he was glaring at his brothers with his lips on my hand. Interesting. It doesn't matter what happens to the princess. I'm being bold to her because poop you, Diana. The rest of the class turned their heads to me. Naomi and Suzu looked at me with equally surprised looks. I kept my eyes to Diana. If I was the mermaid, I wasn't going to let the princess take my prince away. Diana stared at me before smiling and turning her body to fully face me.
Oh? And why does it not matter?
The story isn't about the princess. The story is about the mermaid and the prince.
Ah, but that is exactly my point. While the story talks about the mermaid and the prince's romance, we don't see the problems of the kingdom the prince rules. While we are all fixated with this love story, we ignore the fact the kingdom would fall apart without the marriage between the prince and princess.
Which is quite true because you never think about that. Kids don't think about that. I didn't think about it till now, until like this game. She kept her eyes to me as she spoke. I knew she wanted to make her words stick in my mind, but I didn't listen. It was one thing to be a fictional story. It's another to try and ruin someone's life for selfishness. Diana chuckled and looked back to the class.
Well, luckily in the real story of the Little Mermaid, the mermaid knows that what she was doing was wrong, and she threw herself into the ocean, turning into sea foam.
Some of the students that surrounded me mumbled in surprise, obviously not knowing the real story. However, Diana was wrong once again. Once again, the class looked to me and Diana faced me with another smile.
Not true. How so?
The trade-off for becoming a human was marrying the prince or turning into sea foam. However, she was also given the choice to kill the prince and turn back into a mermaid. The mermaid did it because she loved him and sacrificed herself for that love. That is a story worth telling, not some princess getting her way, but of a tragedy that had befallen a girl who only wanted love. The class applauded me with Suzu giving me her usual punch to my shoulder and Naomi smiling at my logic. Diana, however, finally grew an almost angered face at me.
Interesting. So what you are saying is that the princess should be given no mind.
The story is not about the princess. The story is about the mermaid, and the mermaid should have gotten her prince.
Even at the risk of a kingdom falling apart?
Diana, shut the hell up about this kingdom. Even if the entire world fell apart around them, duty does not overrule love, and the princess needs to realize this. The applause that followed the event intensified with whoops and hollers. I felt a wave of confidence roll through my body. Diana wasn't going to win. I wasn't going to let her. Oh, this is when she hypnotized me. Eric. Suddenly, Diana stopped in her tracks.
Eric? Who is...
It then dawned on her.
Ah, one of the boys. Why did you tell me which boy is Eric?
I felt myself nod in compliance. The second one. Oh, she didn't say one, but... Diana giggled in reply before letting go of my face and stepping back.
Really? The sly second? With you?
I nodded once again, but this time partly in my own decision to reply. Diana let out a sound that mirrored a cat's purr before stepping back from me.
Alright then. Well, if it's the second son you're infatuated with, you should really rethink your romantic options.
You know, he may be like a womanizer or whatever, but he's not like that in the inside, okay? Deep down.
Princess, please trust him.
I looked at Eric unsure of what was going on, but I nodded. If this was the only way to learn, then this was my chance to know. Oh, he has some cute horns. After what seemed hours, I finally woke up, slightly refreshed. My body knew that if I slept any longer, I'd be up all night, which was not part of the plan for the day. I rubbed my eyes and sat up, letting a small groan escape my lips. In response, something beside my bed shuffled, causing me to look over. I didn't know what I was expecting. Beside me, sitting in a chair beside the bed, was Eric, rousing himself up to see me awake. I smiled at him, seeing his slightly ruffled hair and tired eyes.
You're awake, Princess. That's a relief. How do you feel?
Eric nodded before he gently reached over and had placed his hand over mine, running his thumb over my knuckles and examining my face with soft sadness.
I must apologize, Princess. To see you be hunted by both demons and devils, I feel entirely responsible.
Don't worry, Eric. I put myself into this position. I mean, love's a never-ending battle, honestly. Eric, it's not your fault.
No, forgive me, but I can't stand the thought of them hurting you. If we had never come, you'd never be in danger.
But if you'd never come, I would never find the one true love, so... I quickly reached over and put my finger on his lips, stopping him from going any further. I didn't want to hear anymore. Eric, it's okay. I wanted to help you out. I offered to let you stay. Offered to let all you stay. Let you all stay, okay? Nothing is your fault. I gently moved my hand and cupped Eric's cheek, staring at him with concern. I didn't want him to hold guilt in his mind about this whole ordeal. Diana was desperate and should hunt anyone for them. It wasn't his fault she was desperate enough to hunt them down. However, I was curious. So, Eric, you're noble? Eric chuckled before he stared at the hand he was caressing with a soft smile.
Yes, I'm a noble. My brothers and I are nobles. Well, I guess I should say were now, shouldn't I?
Where?
James was the demon prince when we lived in the Abyssal Plains. The others and I were simply nobles living in the castle, simply because of our bloodline. Should James fail or die, we were the replacements. Well, we didn't want to live like that, as simply replacements over our brother. So we all wanted to leave and be an actual family.
Which is really cute. What was it like while you were there?
Well, to put it simply, it was boring. James was constantly being trained while the rest of us had to constantly entertain ourselves without disturbing him. I, however, was also being trained under the guidance of my mother.
Your mother?
Yes, she was a lovely woman. I never knew what she looked like.
But she was lovely as ever. That made no sense. How could he not know what his own mother looked like? Eric, as if he read my mind, smiled and chuckled at the confusion on my face.
Our father had multiple wives. James, myself, Sam, and Matthew came from these very women. But tensions grew high when Damien was born outside our father's marriages. In order to quell the tension, our father had a powerful demon mage turn our mothers into simple, floating spirits. They lived, but they could not have physical form.
That's really sad. That's horrible.
It is, but which is better? A house where the sons of the Demon Lord could have their birth mothers, or watching these very women claw at each other's throats out of jealousy, leaving the sons with no true parental guidance?
True.
Our father didn't have time for anyone but James, so the rest of us needed someone to make sure we didn't grow up to be incompetent.
Eric had a point. It was horrid, but it was a logical point. I bit my lip and nodded in understanding. Eric gently brought my hand up to kiss my knuckles.
Would you like to see what I mean instead?
I mean, sure, why not? I like visual. I learned visually, so. I stared, trying to understand what he meant. However, as a memory of when he showed me Demon Palace replayed in my mind. I nodded and let my curiosity guide me. Eric smiled before simply holding out one hand to me and letting a small breath rush against my palm. His palm. Instantly, the flower Eric had given to me appeared in his hand, making him smirk and making me blush.
You kept it. Good.
Of course, the daisy. What am I gonna do? Throw it? I love flowers. I'm not gonna throw a flower away. Eric wrapped his fingers gingerly around the stem, giving it the magic it had been given before and casting an aura-like mirror before me. I peered in to see the castle main hall once again. The memory of being in the hall, albeit by magic, sent a small shiver down my spine. I watched, however, the very familiar demon walked arm in arm with a woman with cat ears and a tail down the hallway.
Tiffy, my sweet kitten, you truly astound me. Whatever shall I do with you?
Stop it, you're making me blush.
But what if I want to make you blush? You're so much cuter when you blush, kitten.
Stop.
Oh God, I felt my eye twitch in the irritation. Why was Eric showing me this? Was he wanting me to spite him? Was he wanting to spite me? I didn't want to see him flirt with demon girls. I already had some trouble with him flirting with me.
You sly incubus, you. I'll get in trouble for sure if I'm caught with you.
Then shouldn't we make the risk worthwhile?
Oh my God. Eric held the cat girl close to his body, looking about ready to kiss her. The girl, however, mewed and pulled away, giggling in almost cute embarrassment.
Such a bad incubus. So bad. I should go.
Ah, very well, you minx. Until we meet again.
So awkward. The cat girl giggled before rushing out of the main hall, but not before Eric lowered his hand underneath her tail, as she turned and let it slide across his finger as she ran off, making the cat girl jump in surprise. The girl playfully glared at Eric, who only pouted innocent lips in return before she exited. However, as the girl left the room, Eric's face went from flirtatious to almost Damien cold. Eric let out a sigh, gently rubbing his hands to rid them of the fur that had caught on them, and rolled his shoulders.
Well, Mother, was that enough to please you?
I stared, shocked at the personality change. What the heck happened to Eric? He was flirty, charming, and almost disgustingly complimentary. But the Eric I seeing in the mirror wasn't him at all. A small red orb surrounded with a veil of purple mist entered the space, making my mind go blank. It approached Eric, glowing as it spoke.
Very well done, dear. Much better than I expected of you.
Thank you. You taught me well.
What?
That I did. You must never forget, however, to always listen to your women. Serving them is your #1 priority. Should they be uncomfortable, you must step back and be as submissive as possible.
Yes, Mother.
Good. Now, continue to woo that cat girl. Once she gives you her energy, then you can toss her back out. You don't need any pets hanging around when you find another girl.
Damn.
As you wish, Mother.
I stared in utter shock. The orb vanished, but Eric remained in the hall. Letting out a sigh, he had a look of displeasure on his face. He looked tired as well, but something seemed off. He looked like he has a lot on his mind, but his closed mouth wouldn't let him speak them. He was submissive to his guidance. I turned away from the mirror to look at Eric beside me, who had a look of both sadness and guilt. It's as if like a puppy, admitting to chew my favorite shoe, or a child stealing a cookie from my cookie jar. Eric stopped the magic, willing the mirror out of existence and letting it fade away in the air before he looked at.
She taught me well. At least what she could teach me anyway. That visage became habit, and now it's a natural persona to me. She taught me to always serve and make the women I met happy. She always said that was the true incubus way.
I knew it. The true incubus way?
It makes sense, no? If I can please and serve any women I meet, then I can surely convince them to fully give their energy to me.
I began to see the mask Eric was wearing. He wasn't putting on airs because he was overly complimentary. He was complimentary in order to gain trust and respect. That is smart.
It is. However, I know what you're thinking, Princess. I don't blame you for thinking what you are thinking of right now.
Then what am I thinking of right now?
Who am I exactly? If I am truly not as flirtatious as I act, then what do I act like, and will you be the next victim? I can assure you, Princess, that I am no danger to you.
Well, if you're not the flirtatious act, then I know truly deep down you're not a womanizer. That's the least I can know. How can I be so sure?
Because, Princess, I don't deserve your trust or energy.
Why not? I stared, my mind going blank. What did he mean? Eric lifted my hand again and gently caressed it, staring down at it.
You've done so much for me and my brothers, sheltering us, letting us continue to live here. It may not seem like much, but to a family of brothers without anywhere to go, it means everything. I can't soil your gifts to us by taking anything from you. You've become so important and precious to us. To me. To take anything from you like that would be beyond unforgivable.
I watched in speechless silence as Eric lifted my hand higher and simply laid his lips against it. I could feel his frown and felt his shame burning itself into my skin. It was a pitiful sight, and it almost made my eyes water.
I could never do that to you.
Of course you're not, because, we're going to develop feelings for each other and live happily ever after. Eric lowered my hand and lowered his head, ashamed. I couldn't help but feel my heart squeeze within my chest at the sight. He didn't want to hurt me. He truly cared. Eric let out a small sigh before looking to me, his face now clear of the flirtatious mask he bore for so long. He had a genuine, caring, and loving smile bared for him. This was the man inside the incubus who cared for me and wanted to be revealed.
Now, Princess, you must get some more rest. You aren't fully recovered, and dinner is a good scent to wake up to.
Of course. Eric smiled and gently pressed me back down onto the bed. I couldn't let him leave without doing something. I quickly pulled Eric down to me, lifted my head, and gently kissed him, softly laying a hand on his cheek to keep his face close. Eric stared in deep surprise before hesitantly kissing me back, caressing my cheek, and slightly melting at the touch of our lips. A soft sigh escaped his lips before he slowly pulled away with a smile. He gently licked his lips, making me go red in the face at the simple gesture. He let a satisfied hum before nuzzling my forehead.
Sleep.
Boo. And with that, he stood up and left the room, leaving me to rest as per his request. I smiled to myself before relaxing into the mattress. Mother ever. I suddenly tensed up. I felt majorly uneasy. Something wasn't right. I felt it in my core. She must be here. The thought of her in the house infuriated me beyond belief. I had to make sure she was not here. I rolled out of bed and quickly left my room, watering the halls and listening closely. She was a demon, but I was listening very intently. There was no way she would have been able to sneak up on me. I know you're here. Where are you? I could feel myself growl. It wasn't a matter of fear that should take away the boys anymore. Her very existence had lit a fire of rage within my gut, which only grew as each day went by. This fear was getting on my nerves, and I knew it would not end well for one of us. I wasn't going to lose to that demon. Oh, a demon bitch. Such a bitch. I'm so tired. I need to sleep, yo.
What a pleasant surprise.
My heart stopped. Diana was with Eric. My mind flew into slow motion, playing fake images of Diana trying to seduce Eric in my head, to further fan the angry flame inside of me. What was even worse was the fact that Eric could play into Diana's flirtatious game. I instinctively followed Eric's voice and blushed wildly. I was approaching the bathroom. The door was open just a crack wide, enough to peek in without being noticed. I peeked inside to see Eric by the bathtub, with Diana sitting on the sink looking to him. Wow, I've never been here.
Such a gentleman. You know how to treat a woman.
That I do. However, I'm afraid that my manners will not replace my sickening hatred towards you.
I'm hurt, wounded truly. Is this how you really address a woman?
A woman you may be, but you are an enemy as well.
Pity. And here I thought I was going to offer you the chance to become something better than just a simple incubus.
What was Diana going on about? More than just an incubus. She was insane.
I highly doubt you have anything more than what I can have here in the human world.
How about becoming the next demon lord?
I froze. What does she mean, becoming the next demon lord? The boys weren't in the demon world anymore. They had no claim to the throne anymore.
Becoming the next demon lord? You're overstepping yourself, don't you think? How can you know about who the throne goes to?
Well, currently, I'm the contracted bride to the heir to the throne. Since the throne is open, it's available to any son of the Demon Lord's line.
Is that so?
It is. You'll gain the throne, the land, and a bride to continue your lineage with. Doesn't that sound like a perfect life for an incubus like you?
I I could feel myself gripping my fist tightly in anger. How dare this girl try to convince Eric to return to the demon world? He ran away from it. He didn't have to go back. He shouldn't go back. My mind began to wander. Oh, okay. Thanks, timer. I guess we're gonna stop here. Thank gosh, because my voice hurts. So, yeah, you guys can see that it's late for me. Yeah. Aromie needs bedtime right now. I need to cuddle up with my little panda. So, hope you guys have enjoyed so far. I think this is near the ending. It's probably like only like 5 minutes left or something. But this part is where there's a whole lot of hearts. So I gotta be really careful with that. We gotta get a whole lot. And hopefully we'll get the super happy ending. I hope. I really hope so. If not, we gotta go through James. And if we don't get it through James, then I'm still gonna do the recap of every happy ending. Visual novels are so hard, man. Like, the ones I played on my phone, like the Voltage Ink one, I can get super happy endings on those. But for these, it's like, oh, I can't at all. So, anyways, I hope you guys have enjoyed today's episode. Stay beautiful, and I'll see you guys next time.